All right, Andy, great to have you on set. And normally you're here not actually by yourself. Your brother, John, you're kind of a tag team deal. Tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got to this place in your career.
Scott, it's funny at this point in the journey with releasing a film, John and I are always in a different place at a different time. So there's a rumor there actually isn't a second brother because, it's the Bruce Wayne Batman thing.
Right.
But, John and I are filmmakers. We got our start we used to direct Second Unit. We worked with the Kendrick brothers on Courageous. John was the Second Unit director on that. And Alex said, John, what's your purpose? And John said, well, I'm here to get a paycheck. And he said, John, I really feel like it's time for you and your brother to consider what stories God has for you to tell.
Wow.
So John came home and said, I've got this story, October Baby, it's been ruminating in my head, and wanted to see if you want to direct it with me. And we jumped into the world of filmmaking then. That was 9 years ago. And since then we've done Mom's Night Out, Woodlawn, and then our newest one, I Can Only Imagine. And we've just fallen in love with the opportunity for the gospel right now in local theaters. And so we're really, really passionate about engaging culture through good stories.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. You guys do have a little bit of a different angle on the why. I mean, what is the big why? What would you say is the main thrust behind making these films?
For us, and this is where it really, excites me to talk to people that are excited about evangelism, because, when we started, the Kendricks really encouraged us. They said, don't try to be us. God has called us to preach on topics to the church. And so they take on topics like marriage and prayer and fatherhood. But that didn't really feel like what God had called me and John to. And so with Woodlawn, we really discovered our purpose in the power of telling a true story, the power of testimony, of showing the gospel in action. That's an introduction to Christianity to a world that doesn't understand it. So it's an opportunity to plant a seed that then the church, the local church, and organizations that support the local church can step in and say, let us tell you the rest of the story. So my job is to take an audience on a vicarious emotional journey, that once you get past their safeguards and then you get to their heart, you move their heart and it opens them up to saying, I want to know more. And so with Woodlawn, at the end of it, we put a 1-800 number and a website that kind of allowed people to call and ask for more answers. There's an estimated over 10,000 calls that got after the movie, 25,000 decisions for Christ.
Wow.
One this summer was this guy I think it was in Mississippi. He's 33 years old. Said, I've just watched Woodlawn. It wrecked my life. He said, I have just given my life to Jesus Christ, and I just had to call and resign my leadership position within the KKK. And he says, I feel like God has called me to go back and tell them the message I just heard. And so that lights our fire. And so I think we really fell in love with the idea of the church not just using it to encourage the body, but to mobilize the body of Christ to go into the local theater and reach people for Jesus.
And so you really do see your films as an evangelism tool.
Absolutely.
For the local church.
Absolutely.
And what kind of testimonies do you get from churches?
It's really cool. It really excites me. Because if you look at the generation today, the generation of people that are leaving the church, statistically, if you look at it, is a direct overlay to frequent moviegoers. So it's about the same age demographic. So we really want to provide the church with a tool, because we feel like God never works outside of the local church. That is His method of ministry, is the church body. And so we're not calling people to get people from the church into local theater. We're asking God to allow us to use people to go into the theater and reach people for Christ and get them back into the church. And so, absolutely. One of the stories we heard on Woodlawn was a church in Ohio that they showed the film on a Saturday night. The next morning in church, the pastor said, "You know what? In the movie Woodlawn, there was a baptism where somebody came forward and gave their testimony, and we'd like to open the doors up for anybody that's made a decision last night that would like to come forward and be baptized and tell us about that decision this morning." Pastor thought they'd have 4 or 5 people. They had 267 people come forward that morning.
Wow.
Went on for a couple hours, and the last guy was this truck driver, just kind of a blue-collar truck driver. And he said, I don't know the terms. I don't know if I've received Jesus into my heart or God's accepted me into His heart. I don't know how it all works. All I know is I'm that coach in that movie, and I want whatever He's got. And so those are the opportunities that to see the church doing what it does and us being a tool to be able to be a part of that. It's awesome.
I think it's really good too that the church can be confident that you're going to tell a story and that it's going to be a clear story that paints a good picture of the gospel for them to explain or call people to. It's not a vague kind of thing.
Yeah, the gospel, when correctly presented, is a very attractive thing. You know, I can't. You know, it's an offense to some, but it's to many, it's life. And so, when you present redemption in that way, it's amazing. You know, we go right at it because the true story allows us to be bold and overt with the gospel. And amazingly, people don't. You know, the world doesn't know what to do with that because they can't criticize the fact that this is somebody's real life experience. And so, when you present that in that way, it doesn't ring false or propaganda. It's really just the truth. It's good news. And when you see a changed life, it really stirs the heart, where it kind of allows that opportunity for somebody to be connected emotionally to the material and say, can you help me understand how this works? You know, we don't fill in all the blanks, and we're not theologians, we're storytellers.
Right.
But when you see the power of God, the gospel in action, then the same way Jesus used parables, people come back and say, can you tell us more? And that allows the church then to step in, and it's a prime opportunity for them to lead people to Christ.
Well, I think it's interesting, though, like you say, you don't fill in the gaps, but you're willing to put a baptism, for instance, into a movie.
Absolutely.
You're not going to shy away from some of those things.
You know, I think the confidence and understanding that every film and culture preaches, because every film has the perspective and worldview of whoever the screenwriter is. Whoever wrote the material, you can't help. It's not a objective art form. It's very subjective. It's not a documentary. It's a story. And so when you understand that as a Christian, you can be confident in saying you have every right to use that opportunity for yourself as well. And so with the true story, we try to be as true to the person's real experience as possible. So our new story, I Can Only Imagine, is Bart Millard's story that wrote one of the most famous Christian songs of all time. And it's the story of the struggle between him and his abusive father, and that Dennis Quaid plays in the film. And we go right at it. And but it's amazing to see the response of a secular audience that is watching a movie, and they don't know that they're being evangelized.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Let's talk about I Can Only Imagine.
Sure.
There's no one watching or listening to this right now that's not familiar with the song. I mean, it's one of the most popular Christian songs of all time, but a lot of people don't know the backstory. You've shared a little bit about that already. As we look at, say, what you've done in the past, October Baby, Mom's Day Out, Mom's Night Out, how is this film going to be different? What are you trying to do? Where are you as far as the evolution of what your ministry is?
I think along the way we've loved the stories that we've told, and we've kind of gradually found our voice. And I think with Woodlawn, the Power of True Stories, we fell in love with true stories, and so that's really kind of where we began to gravitate towards. Our background was sports for a long time, but then it was music, and we did music videos for a number of years, and won Christian Music Video of the Year for 3 years in a row, and did music videos from everybody for Casting Crowns and Amy Grant to Skillet, and so we love music. But I invited Bart Millard of Mercy Me to a screening of Mom's Night Out, and afterwards he said, "I don't know if you know this, but people have been talking to me about my life story for the past 5 years of doing a movie on it." And I said, "I don't know if you know this, but they approached us this morning about your story." And we really connected, and we began to understand what made his story tick. And he had not shared it up to that point publicly. He had only started talking about it in his concerts for the past 5 years, about the abusive relationship he had with his father. And he says his father was a monster, and he watched his dad, as he died of cancer, guide over that period of time, changing from a monster to being his best friend, the man he always hoped he would be. And he says, if the gospel can change that dude, the gospel can change anybody. And so somebody at the funeral, when his dad passed away and his dad had come to Christ, said, "I can only imagine what your dad's seeing in heaven right now." And that stuck with him for years, until finally he wrestled it to the ground and said, "I want to write a song about what my dad's seeing in heaven." And so it's a very personal song. And so each person that loves that song, we asked Bart, we said, what is it that the song delivers? Because the movie's got to deliver the same emotion. And he said, it's a rush of hope. It's absolutely just a rush of hope.
Wow.
And so we said, well, that's our destination. And so everybody that loves that song has a story that is deeply personal of a low point in their life or a hard or hurtful point in their life where they needed that song and it got them through.
So true.
And so to be able to complete that journey and to tell Bart's story of what led up to him writing that song has been a real treat, and to feature incredible performance by Dennis Quaid in the role of Arthur. Coolest part about Quaid was when it was done, I went to his house to show him the film for the first time. And it was him and his 9-year-old twins, and they were watching it at the back of the room, and I was at the front. And it got done, and I turned around. I was trying to respect his privacy. Turned around, I was like, hey, Dennis, what do you think? And dude was ugly crying. I'm talking ugly crying. And he was like, that was powerful. And he hugged me 2 or 3 times, couldn't speak. I left. He called Bart that night. They talked for 5 hours. And he said, after Andy left, my kids started asking me questions about God and about heaven. And we had conversations that we've never had before. And he said, this movie is about how God does his miracles the hard way sometimes. And he said, I'm totally in. And so it's a special movie, and to watch audiences interacting with it, John and I both just feel privileged that we got a chance to direct that. Okay.
Well, tell the audience what they can expect in terms of when are they going to see that film?
Yeah, so we're coming out nationwide with Lionsgate on March 16th. So somebody far more spiritually tuned in than I am pointed out that that's 316, and it's a great evangelism event.
That's great.
So we're now taking credit for that.
Yes,
but
right.
We're not
brilliant. You're brilliant.
We're not smart enough. But so it's coming out 316, and it'll be nationwide. And so what we're really praying for is the church to really rally around this as an evangelism event where they can engage their local community and reach out to people that are lost within the community, to be able to take them to the movies that night. And then having seen them, their hearts open, maybe take them out for coffee or invite them to the church afterwards, whatever, and help complete the story by telling them the gospel.
Oh, wow.
And then we really want to see those people funneled into their local churches on Easter weekend.
Oh, yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah, and that's great timing for Easter. Easter's April 1st this year. April Fool's Day of all days, and we're going to talk about the truth on April Fool's this year. But, man, what a great opportunity to, like you said, springboard right off the movie, which it'll still be in theaters all the way through Easter. Great opportunities all around, and even Good Friday weekend for that matter. So churches, I'm sure we can expect kind of the same thing. Maybe some churches renting out theaters, just blocking off.
Yeah, that's our goal is just to provide that tool. And once they kind of really catch that vision for evangelism, to see that happen. And opening weekend is really critical for films, faith films, because the statement of how big it is made of how many people come to see it allows it to see how long a run it's going to have. And then what's triggered in society is once the core audience and the Christian audience really rallies around it, is it causes enough noise that then it causes the fear of missing out, the FOMO, to get triggered, which allows what attracts the frequent moviegoers. And so frequent moviegoers that are outside of even the people that are in your community will be able to get a chance to see it if you make enough noise opening weekend. And then all of a sudden they're like, let's check out this I Can Only Imagine thing. And next thing you know, more lost are coming to hear the gospel. Right.
So let's obviously take our people to see it, get them to bring their friends to see it, and then all we can build the buzz on social media, right? That's a big key now in movie success. It's just people going on platforms and talking about them, right?
Right. It's just telling your experiences. It continues to generate that buzz, that grassroots movement, and I can guarantee that you're going to enjoy the movie because we feel like we're all about a double bottom line, and so ultimately our goal is to evangelize the lost and share the gospel. But to do that, we have to make an entertaining movie, and so we always want it to be worth the price of admission. So I can guarantee that it's a charming, really relatable story. And Bart is an exceptional guy. And when we stepped into the story, we said, we're going to do a portrait of your life. We're going to condense it into 2 hours, but we want it to be an accurate portrait. And Bart let down his guard in a way that was pretty amazing. And he was very vulnerable with this story. And I think after you see this movie, other songs that he's written, like Dear Younger Me and Flawless, are going to make so much more sense as to where that came from in his life as well.
Okay, great insight. And one final question, since we have you in the chair. Speak to the Christian movie industry overall. Where's it going?
Yeah.
What excites you? What's coming down the pike? What do you see happening?
You know, I'm excited to see that the seat at the table that we're able to kind of to engage culture. The faith film industry, you know, we've gone through growing pains of trying to figure out how to maximize this opportunity, and I'm really proud of the pioneers that went before that stepped into a medium that had been kind of abandoned for 100 years. I mean, I think that Christianity led the arts for centuries.
Absolutely.
And then for whatever reason, there's a period of time where we kind of abdicated and we kind of got really far behind and lost our seat at the table. And I think other parts of culture and other groups have stepped into that to claim that territory. Rather than, you know, just, you know, being a victim about it, I think there's a lot of people that have really tried to re-engage. And to see the success that's happened in that, there's a group of filmmakers that hopefully we're all pushing each other, whether it's the Kendricks or Devon Franklin, John Gunn that did Case for Christ. There's a lot of really, really talented people that are all pushing each other to try to get better and better and see the quality go up. And so as a result, something that was a niche market when we started, we found that Hollywood is not as biased against Christians as we would like to say. They're business. And so their God is money and success. And if you can prove that you have an audience that will make them money, they'll let you say whatever you want. And so as a result, the genre of faith film has become an established genre. And the opportunity is there for it to be established for years to come. And so I'm excited to see God giving us a seat back at the table. And I think that we can see that grow if we continue to support it and continue to grow in our craft and learning how to do it better and better.
Well, let's definitely do that. And we encourage our listeners to support this movie, engage this movie, let people know about this movie. You can't forget 3/16, March 16th. I Can Only Imagine is the name of the film. We've been with Andy Erwin today. His brother John is not with us. The guys behind this film, and you're going to be blessed if you go see that and make it work as an evangelistic tool in your church. It's a great opportunity. Andy, appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, God.
God bless.
It's an amazing song.
Just kind of happened. Took about 10 minutes, I guess.
Bart, you didn't write this song in 10 minutes. It took a lifetime. How'd you do this?
You know, I've never told anybody my story. When I was 11 years old, life was tough.
Where's Mama?
She's gone. She don't want me no more. And she don't want you neither.
And I've always loved music. And I found some songs that I held on to. They gave me hope.
Mercy me, that can't be his real voice.
Because I needed it.
Dad, I can do this.
No, you can't. And you're gonna blink your eyes and you're gonna realize that life has gotten you nowhere because you chased some stupid dream.
I'm leaving, Shan.
I want you to know that I pray for you all the time. And I hope that you find whatever it is that you're looking for out there.
What are you running from?
My dad.
Then write about it. Let that pain become your inspiration.
I got some stuff I need to sort out. And I deal with it the only way I know how. And that's to write a song.
You hungry? Set the table.
What is this?
I want to make things right with you and me.
My dad was a monster, and I saw God transform him.
You have a gift, real gift.
I didn't think that God could do that. And so I wrote this song for my dad.